Hi, I'm Certified Sommelier Beverly Crandon, and welcome to the Wine Dome, where we talk about all things wine and make it extremely approachable. And on today's Wine Down, we're going to break down orange wine. Ever wonder why your white wine turned orange? No, it is not spoiled. It is just something that is based on 8,000 years of know-how. But you know what? It has been blowing up, is blowing up right now. So let's unpack it. Like we're chatting over a glass of orange wine. Orange wine is one of those funky, fun styles that has been blowing up. It's continuing to blow up. People ask me about it. I say, think of orange wine as white wine's rebellious cousin that just hangs out with the reds. Okay, and I'll get to why I say that. So your orange wine is made from white grapes, but the way it is made is more so in the style of how you'd make a red wine. So this wine making technique, though, is what makes orange wine what it is, right? It's what gives it that lovely amber hue and all of that personality. So let's continue. Let's just break that down. Let's go deeper into how orange wine is made, and you'll see why I call it white's rebellious cousin that hangs out with the reds. Okay, so as I mentioned, your orange wine comes from white grapes. So you'll see winemakers crush grapes like Ribolla Gialla, you see that a lot, Ricascatelli, Sauvignon Blanc, Chenin, and they're doing that, but keeping the must with the skins for a long period of time. It could be days, weeks, or even months. Like if you take a look at famed orange wine producer Gravner, and I wish I had a bottle here today, but it's locked away somewhere for a good reason. Famed orange wine producer Gravner, his wines, the grapes see skin contact for 6 months and then go through a really tremendous winemaking process after that, to the point where his wines are not released for 8 to 9 years after harvest. That being said, if someone ever offers you a glass of Gravner, please say yes, pick it up, drink it. Anyways, but it's that extended period of time with your skin, the skin contact for those white grapes, that makes orange wine or amber wines what they are. You know, in contrast with white wine, you're looking at maybe 2 to 8 hours of skin contact. It's very quickly, the must is very quickly removed from the skin on purpose. And so typically 2 to 8 hours, depending on, you know, the style the winemaker is looking for. But it is that extended skin contact that gives your amber wine, your orange wine, the color, clearly, but it's also extracting tannins, some phenols. It's extracting, obviously, hue and pigment. While not synonymous, the other thing you should know about orange wines is that a lot of them are low intervention, deemed natural wines. But note, it's not orange wine, natural wine, not one and the same. There's a big misconception out there that all orange wines are natural wines or low intervention wines, and that's not necessarily true. Be wise and read up a bit about the producer and their practices and how they've made that particular wine. The other thing I'll say about orange wine that kind of sets some of its mystique and it's just who it is that a lot of them are aged in clay amphora. And that's a head nod to the Georgians 8,000 years ago who were aging their wines in this way in qvevris and burying them underground. So you'll also see terracotta amphora also being used, but not everybody ages it in amphora, but you do see a lot who want to pull in some of that tradition and do a head nod to yesteryear. So now that we've talked about how it's made, I want to go to what you can expect on the palate. What does this even taste like? The way orange wine is made makes it a naturally really versatile wine with food. If I'm out for dinner and I see that there is an orange wine on the menu and I know the producer and I'm familiar with the quality, I will often pick that up. I will often order that, especially if I'm doing tapas or I'm out for dinner with friends and we've decided to share a couple of main dishes, because while the flavors that are in front of me, I know if I go with that orange wine, it is going to go well with so many things that are happening in front of us. All right. So I have 2 wines here for you guys to, for us to try to kind of figure out what orange wines are, and we'll do them together. Actually, one of the wines is the very first orange wine that I had 10 years ago. And I was like, oh, what is this? This is exciting. So it'll be fun to drink this with you guys today. So I'm familiar with this one. But before we even get into that, let's just talk about what one can typically find on the palate when you're drinking orange wine. Orange wines will often give you like orange peel, apricot, herbs. And when it comes to herbs, it's the more aromatic herbs like saffron, lemon balm, chamomile. You'll also get a bit of a nutty, almondy type feel on your palate as well from this. Remember that extended skin contact that the must has had. We've extracted phenols, we've extracted tannins. So expect these wines to have a bit of weight on the palate. You'll feel a bit of phenolic bitterness, some grippiness, reminiscent of, your red wine tannins, but obviously less. So you'll feel some of that on the palate. So that's what you can expect with an orange wine. But it's all those things that I just talked about that makes orange wine so good to pair with. It is so versatile. It is that that wine that kind of sits in the middle. You kind of don't know which way you want to go. So you get an orange wine. You're going to be perfect and comfortable with that. But let's go into the 2 wines that we have. And the 2 wines are from outside of Italy. Friuli, Slovenia, very, very big, obviously, for, and well known for orange wine production. And I'll link to a blog that I have that speaks to that. And also in that blog, I also gave or suggest some like famed producers, like who are, you want to try orange wine from them. So I'll link to that. But these 2 that I have are expressions from outside of Italy. Again, it's putting an exclamation point on how much this category is really blowing up. So the first one I have is from Ontario, obviously Prince Edward County. It's from Volta Estate Winery. And these guys, super cool, right on the label. I don't know if you can see that. They've got amphora right on the label there. So kind of giving you like an understanding that, this is going to be an orange wine, some skin contact, awesome. I did try to check around to see, this is the wine here. I did try to check around to see if I can find how long the maceration period was, how long the must spent with the skins. Couldn't find that. What I did find is that this wine, after fermentation, was then aged for 8 months in clay amphora. And so what that's telling me, obviously with the skin contact and the amphora and lees as well for the 8 months, it's going to be a weighty wine. That's what I expect on the palate. I expect it anyways from an orange wine, but these guys with the winemaking process, they're even giving you more. So I'm just going to go in and try this. Bring it up to my nose. Orange blossom. Oh, very much so, very much so. On the palate, honeydew melon, honeysuckle, bit of banana. It's very ripe. It's very interesting. And then, of course, that almond nutty feel comes and hits you on the finish, which is about a medium length and finish. This is great. And knowing the area, I know that these wines are high acid wines. But it's the winemaking that rounds that out, so it doesn't. You almost don't notice that it is that high acid. And for an area like Prince Edward County in Ontario, where those grapes just pack acid, like you can tell a Prince Edward County wine. This is very smart winemaking, very great. And I can't wait to have this with some food, which I will do after this. Then the next one that I have for us to try is from Alsace. And it's Domaine Brand de Fils Fleurs Macération 2022. This is made from Pinot Gris. But let me show you the color of this. Let's put these 2 side by side. So this was the Chardonnay made from Volta Winery. Of course, also macerated skin contact. And this is the Pinot Gris made from Domaine Brand de Fils. Now, you're probably like, well, Beverly, that doesn't look very orange to me. Good point. But so a couple of things. So I know the maceration period on this wine is 15 days. And so that's how long the must spent with the skin, seeds, and stems. Now you get this color, like we're talking about Pinot Gris. Pinot Gris has got like that pinky gray skin and great phenolics too on that. naturally from Pinot Gris. There's a phenolic, a lot of phenolic bitterness in that grape. So you're able to extract this type of color, especially if you manage the temperature of your fermentation. So I'm going to go ahead and try this Pinot Gris. My God. It's like that day 10 years ago when I first sipped this. There's so much happening on the palate. A lot of like mandarin orange. You got the almond that's also in there. You've got some yeasty notes in there. But it's like the wine, it kind of dances on your palate. Great acidity that is reminiscent. Great acidity is reminiscent of like a citrus bomb happening. So you're loving it all. Lemon, lime, mandarin, all of that in there. This is delightful, and I realize why I love this wine. These two different styles. This one, I would say it was riper. This one, it still is ripe, but there's so much more happening on there, and it is still finishing my palate. Long finish on this. You get a feel of that aging with its skin too, both on the palate and in the nose. Something slightly tertiary, oxidative is coming in there. This is a biodynamic wine. We know it's low intervention, but I don't know. So there are two different styles of orange wine. And I got to tell you, if you are someone who loves orange beer, and I know this for a fact that Domaine Brand they feed that style of wine, you would love it. But there you go. That's two different types of orange wine. We went from one spectrum to the next. That is how versatile orange wine of this. For those of you wondering if orange wine is just a fad or if it's here to stay, the numbers don't lie. It is a wine drinker's choice. It's not going away at all. 8,000 years of history, not going away at all. I did pull some numbers and get some data and some stats for you guys so we can talk about the popularity of orange wine. And so research group FactMR, according to them, in 2025, the global market was valued at around $280 million, and it's projected to hit $540 million by 2035. They claim that Europe still dominates in terms of consumption of orange wine, but that North America is going through a massive growth spurt right now. But what's interesting, they account for 49% of the consumption in North America. That's the result of on-premise. So wine bars who are really embracing natural wines, orange wines, wanting something new and funky on their list for their readers, for the drinkers. So they're saying that 49% of North American consumption is due to wine bars. And that's an amazing stat. So there you have it. That's the wine down where we talked about orange wine today. And you know what? I think what's interesting is orange wine is proof that the future of wine is not just about perfection. It's about rebellion in some sense, going back, like historical rebellion. So more and more we're seeing producers really shed a light on their country's native or indigenous grapes, as opposed to just focusing on the international noble stars that people normally drink. And I think that's what this is all about. In the case of orange wine, it is white wine remembering its rebellious and wild side. It's taking that 8,000 years of history and making it relevant again. So no, orange wine is not a fad. The way I see it, it is a wine that's bridging the stories that have not been told. 8,000 years of history. I hope you enjoyed today's Wine Down.